Suga. Today's conversation is one that speaks to the heart of leadership, advocacy, and the power of women uplifting their communities. And there's no better person to spotlight than the incredible Aunty Audrey Kawaiopua Alo. She has been a force of change, working tirelessly to create opportunities, advocate for our people, and build spaces where our voices are heard. Her work doesn't just impact those in California, it's shaping communities across the country. I also want to take a moment to honor someone I know Auntie Audrey wouldn't mind sharing the spotlight with, Kawen Young, for her heart, her presence, and the way she always made sure her people were taken care of. I first met Kawen through one of my good friend Heidi's mom, Dr. Oretta Crichton. Kawen was light and deeply committed to community. And no matter how busy she was, she would randomly call me sometimes to check in and see how I was doing, and that kind of care is rare. Though Karen is no longer with us, her spirit and the impact she left behind continues to live on. It's March, and her birthday was earlier this month. And I just want to take a moment to honor her memory and the work she dedicated herself to. I know she would be so proud to see conversations like this happening, where we celebrate the women who are making a difference. As we celebrate Auntie Audrey's journey and the work she's doing, I want this to also be a reminder that none of us do this alone. It takes a village, and we are all part of something bigger. If you've ever wondered how to get involved, how to turn that passion into action, or build a community that truly supports one another, this episode is for you. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Join the space, be part of Dear Suga community, and let's continue growing together. Now, let's get into it with the one and only Audrey Kawaiopua Alo. Thank you for taking the time. We are here with who I call Auntie Audrey, or Audrey Alo. She's a big leader in our community. Thank you, Auntie Audrey, for taking the time to actually sit down with me and just talk story. Just to start off our conversation, we know how much you love money. Can you give us some insights into your love of dogs?
So initially, I was not a dog person. I've been a cat person. However, I acquired an allergy to cats. So then I didn't have cats for the longest time. My mother came to stay with me in 2003 because I was gone a lot. I got a dog for her. And so that was the first dog that we had, and her name was Alofa. Alofa was Jack Russell Terrier Chihuahua. And then circumstances came to where my mother and I weren't living together. So she was not able to have Alofa with her. So I took Alofa on. And so Alofa became my dog. And then because I was still gone a lot, I got another dog to keep Alofa company. So that was Capo. And Capo was Italian Greyhound and Chihuahua. They got along really well. They were both fast, competitive. Then my mom passed away, and before I had medical issues, I had to put her down. So I just had Capo. By chance, one of the girls at work had a dog and she was not a dog person. And so he was still a puppy. He was actually only like maybe 2, 3 months. And I said yes, and I really shouldn't have at that point because I wasn't thinking, because I hadn't had a puppy since Alofa. It was difficult with the potty training. However, I had Capo and then got money. I was so accustomed to calling out Alofa's name that I would call him Alofa just off the top. And I said, okay, I can't call him Alofa. I already had an Alofa. So then I went to Alofa Moni, like true love. So I just called him Moni. I consider myself his guardian and caretaker.
We have to say this because we know in our Samoan culture, dogs are treated very different. In our home, we keep our dogs in the house, take good care of them, but that's not common. Was that always how you grew up as well?
For me, it's more like from a Hawaiian perspective as opposed to a Samoan perspective. In our families, our dogs were outside dogs in my Samoan house. As I've gotten older and living more here, we don't necessarily have yards or animals. We've adjusted. I'm a single woman, so he's my constant companion. I take him as many places as I can. The good thing about living here in Long Beach is it's a very dog-friendly city. I can go to a restaurant or bar, a lot of places, and take him, and he's welcome.
For people who don't know your background, we know each other through Kellen, who I'm grateful to her for introducing me to community service, including herself. And both of you are strong leaders and helping the community tirelessly, always advocating for everyone in the community. I've been grateful to you both for having me be a part of that. You don't just do things for the Samoan community, you do a wide range even for the Hawaiian community because you are part Hawaiian. And so maybe a little bit more color around that.
I am Samoan Hawaiian Chinese, basically raised in the Samoan household. And my parents divorced when I was really young. Not learning much about the Hawaiian side, I was sent to my mother's younger sister who lived here in the States as opposed to living in Hawaii. And she was living in Nashville, Tennessee at that time. So every now and then you might hear a little Southern twang. I spent from 11 through 17 in the South, in Tennessee, as well as Missouri. I graduated from high school in Kansas City, Missouri. And that's too, the way I speak English is reflective of that too. But as I came into community work, I did not speak full out Samoan because in my grandfather's house, they wanted me to speak English. I can English with the best of them, but my Samoan suffered. And so trying to make that transition of changing your sentences and then even I don't even know why I didn't think about it, but to learn that there is sentence structure, tense markers, all of these things that any other language would have is I don't know why my brain didn't say Samoan had it as well. It's part of my inability to serve the Samoan community is that I do not speak Samoan. It limits my ability to talk to people, especially the people that I need to talk to, the people making decisions with their households, the elders. Wanting to do that for me is asking, who can I go to just learn conversational Samoan? And that is where Le'afa started in 2017. However, before that, it's just like learning about what the community needs are and knowing about Hawaii, knowing about Samoa, Tonga, but to be able to work with organizations that bring them together on an equal footing, but push our agendas forward, whether for health, politics, or just equity across the board. And so I was able to find a couple of organizations that did that. PICC was the first one, and out of PICC came, which is Pacific Islander Community Council, came Pacific Islander Health Partnership that is located in Orange County and provides primarily healthcare services. So looking at the community overall, and I know sometimes I've heard conversation about why is Hawaii, why is it Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander? Hello, the Native Hawaiians were unfortunate enough to become a state of the Union, whereas Samoa is a territory as is Guam, American Samoa, as well as Guam, as well as Puerto Rico. And until they decide that they want to do something different, and I know people have had that conversation, but I always tell, because even I've told people in my family, like young people, when they're like, Samoa should become a state, to look at the history of Hawaii with the United States government and see if that's what you want, because then your lands are not going to be your lands. You're going to be paying taxes on your lands. You're not going to be able to bury your people in the front yard like we do now. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're not going to be able to do. I don't even know what's going to happen to the Matai system at that point because you give everything over. And having those conversations and letting people open up. The whole idea is we raise each other, we hold hands and we raise ourselves together. And we also reach the hand down to pull the other one up, because until we are standing together in support of each other, it's just going to be far more difficult. And as we look forward with this new administration that has started off with a bang, it's going to be a rocky 4 years. And then even after that, trying to undo what this president has already started, it's going to take more than the 4 years that he's going to be in office. So looking at all of our communities and wanting to bring everybody up, we're not all at the same level. Hawaii is different from Samoa, different from Tonga, Chamorro, Marshallese. When we look at those numbers, and it goes back to the disaggregation of data. If we're not able to disaggregate that data, we're not able to find out where we are, who we are, what we need, because we're still being lumped together. And so talking about the same story still 20, 30, 40 years later.
But even though it's been 20 plus years, you have been trying to move things forward. Has there been any forward movement since you've actually started?
There's been forward movement. Some of us always say it's not going to be us that pushes ourselves forward. It's going to be non-Pacific Islanders, because they have the clout to be able to help us to get resources, to get the ears of people that are in the places to make decisions. As much as we do, it is forming partnerships with the people who see the value of what we have. The reason people like going to the Pacific is why they wanted to colonize us. We have so many lovely things. They're looking at how they can market and strategize, but whereas that was not our idea. It was to welcome people. If you come, welcome, come. This is what we have. We're willing to share. But when we're sharing, they're thinking that, oh, They don't know what they have and they shouldn't have. Whereas when they started talking about sustainability a couple of decades ago, I'm like, we have always done that. We have always taken care of the land so the land can take care of us. We don't take any more than we need. So there'll be some for tomorrow. The idea of sustainability, whether it's ecology or anything, we've already been doing that. We've been taking care of our lands, our people. Everybody had their job. Everybody had their place within our communities. But here, it's like we're taking a couple of steps forward and 10 steps back. One of the frustrations and exhaustions of this work is having to continuously educate other people of who we are. For a Samoan woman, trying to explain the fa'alawi and that system to a non-Samoan, it's very difficult because we grow up differently. The concept we have of it is different. When you think of it as an interruption in your life, you give what you're able to give, not to where you cannot pay rent, have food, make bills. So that's what people see. He gives so much, but then even too, with that, it's gotten away from just giving what you are capable of giving that's not going to cause your household any strife or to do less. If all you can do is wash dishes, chop vegetables, sweep the floor, that is sufficient. But we have people look at them, they just came and do that. So it's like, how do we change that part to where acknowledging that everybody has different circumstances and different resources for whatever reason, the poor decisions, good decisions, whatever, but to allow them that and to be kind enough to allow that to be good enough.
That's the fasamo that I grew up with.
Yes.
It's always great to give as much as you can to help the family. My mom's always taught me if you just go with one iko and one fine mat, yeah, that is more than anything. You're giving from your heart. But at the same time, it's always this keeping up with the Jones. Yes, it's back there, right? Everyone else is here. I need to make sure I contribute this much. I still struggle with that. I'm grateful for my family, even though I might not be there or really helping. My heart is. It's just that my circumstances won't allow me. It's not an excuse for me personally not to do it. And I think when your heart is there, it's nice to hear that from someone.
You struggle with that, even with Hawaiians. We all give differently. And that's part of the positive thing for me, working with different communities or different island groups. I learn a little bit about their culture. You need to expand your horizon. We have a lot of the very same protocols to show respect. They may be a little different. On the talk story last night with SoCal Picker, Upu and Peter, they had Freddie Gutierrez, who is Chamorro. He talked about how in the olden days, a young person would approach an elder. What they would do is they would take the elder's hand and they would smell it. And it's not unlike how Hawaiians put their nose together. Now, a lot of kids don't even do that, but you see the older people doing it, and kids will take the elder's hand and put it to their forehead as a sign of respect.
Oh.
And yeah, I've seen it before, but I had it explained to me before. But I was really glad when Freddie brought that up on the Talanoa series last night. Learning something different with the Marshallese. When they say Yakwe, it's like comparing you to a rainbow. It's more than just hello. Here you are. It's so bright and beautiful. It reminds me of a rainbow when the rain is gone and it's just coming up and the sun is behind and all of that stuff. So it's nice to learn different things about the different cultures. And then again, too, to also reinforce that each and every one of our groups, we are more than entertainment. We are more than just dancing. We are more than athletics. We have been masters at many different crafts to help us survive. We've been leaders in our communities, islands, and with each other for centuries. We're capable. It may not be the Western way, but it's the way that works for us and the way that we understand, although we are now incorporating a lot of Western practices.
I've always loved that there's always some form of similarities across the board, but it's good to acknowledge we're all very different also. And there's beauty in that as
Absolutely. I agree.
I wanted to talk about you're very passionate about helping the community. When did that all start? When did you start like deciding to, okay, I'm gonna go volunteer, or you volunteered or volunteered?
Okay, so my dad, okay, so my dad died in 93. My dad committed suicide. When my dad left Hawaii, he had joined the military, did a couple of tours in Korea, and then he also ended up coming to Camp Pendleton. There was a time when my mom and I came with him, and then we went back to Hawaii, and then my dad came back. And I think that's like by the time my parents divorced. But when my dad left Hawaii, He had a Martin ukulele. I actually have that ukulele. When he passed, I found the ukulele and I had it refurbished and everything. So he always did his music, whether it was like singing Hawaiian music, Samoan music, all that Luau songs they sang. So within the Oceanside area, he at one time belonged to several bands and they played music. When my dad died, I grew up with my mom's family, not my dad's. I reached out just before my dad died and connected with the Alo side of my family. And just wanting to know a little bit more because I've been away from Hawaii and Samoan people for so long, just trying to get back in. So I'm doing the silly thing that Westerners do. I'm looking in the yellow pages, the white pages, trying to find Hawaiian organizations. Didn't find anything. They didn't advertise that way. And then I went to school. I was going to school to be a court reporter. And I met a girl whose friend was taking hula classes in West LA. That's how I reconnected with the community. I started taking hula, going to events, finding other organizations, and I found Hawaii's Daughters Guild. I was really intrigued by a women's organization that provided scholarships. At that time, only Hawaiian women. And it wasn't until I think I was a member for about maybe 10 years and we switched over to doing it for Pacific Islander women, to not limit it to one group, but then also too because we're intermarrying as well. So we had Hawaiians marrying Samoans, Tongans. So at that time, boys could get scholarships for athletics. Basically, the girl's going to go to school, graduate, get married, have kids, stay home. But for those that wanted to go on, to be able to be a part of that, I became a Daughters Guild member as of April this year. I will have been a member for 26 years. I am the oldest standing member, and I just became president last year. I have a spectacular board, educated women that work in different areas of life. One works in public health, two of them work in human resources. One works with low-income housing in the West LA area. But then even too within the membership, there's quite a collection. We have a librarian who's been the president of the Asia Pacific Librarians. And we have somebody that works with children, kindergarten on up at a center in Long Beach, actually. We have people that have retired that are still doing volunteer work, stay-at-home moms as well. So we have a wide variety of people. So trying to figure out how we can work together to advance our mission statement. For education, back when they started the Hawaii Daughters Guild, families were coming over because the men were getting jobs with longshoremen. For them to acclimate when they come, it's a big change from Hawaii to here. I help them out as they navigate living here and where can you go shopping? What can you do? This is where to get clothes. You can get these or these. Now it's changed a lot since then, but sometimes still it's, so we provide some of that. If you're newing in our area, we guide you. If you're looking for island food, or we can tell you where to go. There's only one chapter and our membership is at about 20. The maximum membership is 30. Wanting to start other chapters, just trying to look and see how that would work. And so with pandemic, of course, we become Zoom tired. So it's no, some people don't want to put their face on a screen, or even with Zoom meetings, they can't make the meeting. We were meeting in person once every 3 months. Ideally, I would like to get together every month because back in the day, we would have our meetings, stay and hang out, get to know each other and find out about each other and if each other's families and what's going on. Learn a craft like lohalo weaving, feather lay making, flower lay making, learning how to cook something, spending time and getting to know each other. So I would like to get back to that. Educating ourselves in 2023, got dressed up and made fascinator hats.
Oh,
There were already fascinators there for you to put on, but if you wanted to make one, so they had where they would make it, but we also had somebody come and talk to us about finances. Part of it is come together, do something fun, but also learn something. I was talking to Kaylani this morning. She's with the Marshallese community, and we were talking about how kids want to be adults so much, and then when you say, okay, yeah, go be adult, and then they're like, I need help. They don't realize all the steps it takes to do something.
I remember being that, and now looking back, what was I thinking?
I thought I could go do this. She and I are laughing. She said, yeah, they don't understand that all that little tedious stuff that you did to set it up, that's what got the whole thing rolling. Then they're like, oh, I'm not ready to adult yet. And so it takes some lessons. Part of that is they pay a little more attention. You can learn this. We all had to learn it. We weren't born and came out, boom, now you know all of this. You picked it up a little by. You're not going to get everything when you want it. Every once in a while, you'll get it. But a lot of times, you got to be ready to pivot and say, okay, I got to do this first. And you're not going to get everything right away.
Talking about adult kids wanting to grow up so quickly. Now that you're at a wiser age, compared to when you were in your 30s or 40s, what is something you used to perceive then that has shifted your perspective now? how you perceive things. Has it changed or are you still the same?
I learned something from my mother. I've learned many things from her. But one of the things that I take all the time is that I need to agree to disagree and then move forward. Sometimes when I'm passionate about something, I want you to change your mind and see it the same way I see it. And you're standing by your stance. Then I get to that point where the switch just flips and I says, okay, you know what? We're not going to sway each other. So we're going to have to agree to disagree so we can move forward. It's whether it's personal life, professional, community. I'm not always going to get my way. So I just take what I get, keep moving, and come back another day.
These days, it's just almost seems everyone is always on the extreme ends, it feels like at time. I sometimes look at the news and it's just with people just talking at each other instead of really wanting to talk to listen and understand each other. I know you're passionate about certain things, but how do you have that a difficult conversation with someone?
It's difficult conversations. Hopefully, there's enough of a relationship there where, so I'm going to use one of Auntie Fran's phrases. So Auntie Fran Lujan is the curator at Pacific Islander Ethnic Museum in Long Beach. And if you understand initially that a person is coming from a place of love, you can go down a notch. It takes storytelling and explanation, hopefully, enough about the other person to find the common ground. One of the strongest things for Pacific Islanders is storytelling. In storytelling, we can say more than just saying what we have to say. Is you can give an example and also but to be vulnerable and open, letting people know that whoever you think I am, I too have insecurities. When I wake up, whoever I pray to, whoever I pray to, I ask to please let me be the best person I can be today because I know I can be a jerk. It's a reminder to me to understand that I don't know what other people are going through. And whereas I might come in from my perspective, I need to understand that person may not have had a good night. That person may have had a crappy day the day before or whatever. I need to feel it out before I go in, even though I come in with this thing. I got to assess it to see which way to go. That will change my trajectory in that conversation. Whereas I came in and I was just going to go, "Arr," and that's all. And if I'm looking at sometimes just, is everything okay? Are you all right? Is this a good time to have this conversation or would you rather do it later? And if it's later, that's fine. If we go forward now, just understanding they're not at their absolute best. So to be kind, because that's not always the first thing in my mind.
I'm just thinking about Dear Suga itself. And as much as I try to have it out there to help someone, I truly think it's for me personally trying to understand because there's still areas I need to improve on. I'm sitting with you, but these conversations, I always feel it's helpful for me. I have a strong personality that sometimes it comes off very too much at moments. I'm a poly major. We are very strong women. And at the same time, needs to be a softness. And I don't know how to balance that. With you, you're just so great. People say she has a presence. And I'm curious, how do you navigate those emotions?
I have my insecurities as well. Sometimes I enter the room. I don't know if I should be here. I don't know what I have to lend to the conversation. A lot of times I go to things to support. When I first came to community work, realizing I wanted to be doing this, I started going to meetings. I would just go and listen. In that listening, I found out who was at the table, who were the doers, who just sat around and just made noise and made difficulties. And just, it was never my idea to be in a position of leadership. I like working in the kitchen, in the background, doing whatever it takes to make it happen, have somebody else out in the front. That was my idea. It was like help, whether it was helping with voter registration or it was not to be the voice or the face front. That came about because of the lack of capacity in our community of people willing to do that. I don't need a title or money because I've been doing this without getting paid years. Thank goodness I have been able to support myself to do this work because even within this work, I end up spending my own money to get stuff. We don't always get the funding we need. Somebody needs help. I have a little extra money. Let me put some of that there. But I shouldn't have any disposable cash because I should be using that cash to put away in a 401k or a Roth. But that's also too not the way that as a Pacific Islander, many of us think. That's always been a thing that I wanted to do is financial education for elementary school people all the way to grown-up people like myself. I'm 73 years old and would like to retire, but it's not enough to sustain me if I live another 20 years. As we move forward in the next couple of years, it's also one of the things that SoCal Pickert does. The SoCal Pickert is Southern California Pacific Islander Community Response Team, which came out of COVID. It was started with Kawen Young, Rita Scanlon, Adi Situlua, Heidi Quang, and myself. When the pandemic hit, we were getting all kinds of misinformation, and we got together and we're having a phone call like, what the hell? What are we going to do for our community? We reached out to the health science guy, Paul Simon, who we had interaction with before. We told him our numbers aren't there. Why are we not seeing Pacific Islander numbers? And he says, our numbers are so low. I said, per 100,000, this is what we've got. He goes, oh, that's high. The next day, it was on his dashboard with NHPI information. The data lab at UCLA came into play, leading that charge going after data and for community. With SoCal Pickert, there's like maybe 20 organizations under SoCal Pickert right now. SoCal Pickert is moving towards having a governing structure because we thought when COVID went away, SoCal Pickert would go away, but the organizations like the structure of it. So with SoCal Pickert, there's many things there. If you're trying to start a 501c3, we have somebody on who has been helping us write grants, and just to be able to have that to be able to offer to our communities that don't have the infrastructure to do grant writing. It takes a different mindset to do narratives for grants and stuff. And then now a lot of grants are not going to be coming through because they're federally funded. So that's going to halt trying to figure out who to reach out to, how to make ourselves seeable for philanthropic groups. And we've got to, then even to being smarter to where we're not competing against each other for grants. If we can go as a collective, that's good. We're learning how to help smaller 501c3s build up and get there because you have to be able to be fiscally able to receive and handle, report out, and all of that stuff. It's a good thing about it that I absolutely love is that we get to see what each other is. We collaborate and learn from each other, but we are some of the best cheerleaders for each other. One of the good things for SoCal Pickert with the pandemic was that a lot of young people were graduated, but they couldn't go for job interviews or find work because everything was shut down. And so we were able to offer them a little job. It was a part-time job, a few hours a day, but they would get paid like 17 to 20 hours, $20 an hour to go door to door canvassing. And then through that, they got to meet each other. And then they got to get out in community. And some of them, they built their own organizations, CVP, Central Valley Pacific Islander Association, young people under 40 doing good work. Even with them, it's like having to learn. They're young, they want to do stuff, and we got to teach them. Oh, Auntie, I want to talk to so-and-so about such and such. Can you give me that number? I'm like, no, why not? I said, I'm going to ask if they're interested, if they want to talk to you, and then I will introduce you to, and then you all can talk. But no, I'm not going to just give you the phone number. Yeah, no, that's not the way we do things. You have to understand, this is a relationship I built. I have to ask her, are you interested in working with this boy? He wants to do such and such. Can you at least talk to him to find out? Okay. I said, yeah, I see. You're good, you're cute and all that, but you got to come humble. And for the most part, our kids know how to do that. They worked around Pacific Islander women, so they know how to handle that.
I think that's for me. That was one of the questions I was going to pivot into because I know you've always said, oh, okay, I can't keep doing this forever.
Yeah.
And so you've been talking about wanting the younger generation to step up, to be more leaders.
It's happening. It's been 2 weeks. A couple of weeks ago, I stepped down as president of Le'afa, Leadership and Education.
Okay.
I had stepped out of the presidential seat, and I am going to remain on the board. As an advisory person, I would not have a vote in what happens. As a charter member, still interested in where Le'afa goes, it would behoove me to stay on the board. Basically, whatever other duties may arise in my position as a board member, every time I step out, I am part of the Hawaii Daughters Guild, the Pacific Islander Health Partnership, Le'afa, and SoCal Pickert. I'm always talking about those organizations wherever I go. So that does not change. It's like trying to see where The programming goes for Langafa, and that's under redevelopment right now. Language classes will begin in April. Between now and April, they'll be doing one-off workshops. They have a project, I think it's going to go to 150 days, which is Samoan enough, because many of us have felt at one time or another not Samoan enough. And when you see those stories, they're on Instagram. A lot of them you can relate to because we may all be Samoan, but each one of our families, the dynamics within our families are so very different that each experience is different. Because like some people may look at, because I just saw something on Facebook and it just like irritated my last nerve that said, if you can't speak Samoan, you ain't Samoan. I'm like, hold up. Number one, who are you to say? You don't know what went on in that family. That's outright bullying. You don't know what kind of family life. You don't know what happened. You're just going to make that blanket statement. We can all laugh at our culture. Part of what we do, we laugh a lot and make fun of each other. When I did Pacifica Pride in 2017, it made me realize you might think you're joking, but if you're actually bullying, when you're making fun of a child or a young person because they're a male child, but they're maybe being a little bit fluffier, it's bullying. It made me feel a certain way, like 60 something, right? What the hell? I didn't think of it that way. Just like rethinking and making that change. To be able to do Pacifica Pride as a non-LGBT person, as an ally, to be trusted to do that was really something. I met so many people that are in to see how professional they are, how academically successful and articulate, own who they are and share their experiences was really something. It was a one-day event, but it was really quite impactful. And I know I've gotten people, they're like, why don't you have another one? I said, I'm all for it, but I don't need to be in the forefront. I want to see an LGBT person take the lead. We can talk you through whatever it is we did to get there. We can show you the numbers of everything we did, but I would like to see an LGBT person take the lead on that.
Sometimes we just want to control things. And you're like, okay,
how to manage all of that. There's so much coming in. So that's why when I'm looking 3, 5, 10 years ahead, I have all this other stuff to come in, but you only have your view of what's going on here.
at the moment,
Yeah, at the moment. Until you step here and all this stuff is coming in, it's a whole different ballgame. I still come in with my preconceived notions. This is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to make happen. But when my self is sitting in the chair of leadership for an organization, I put that lens on. So when I do that, I have to put myself back. And then even though I still have that self back there, I have to look at everything else and listen to feedback from my board members, community, individuals, form conversations, create conversations to move forward. It doesn't always happen the way I want it to happen. And even with that, I tell people, I say, oh my God, you're the president of this, that, and the other. I said, all I do is lead meetings. I have an agenda. I go down the agenda, bring everything up. Let's talk about it. If we're going to vote about it, let's vote about it. Yes, no, let's move it forward. Are we accepting it? Are we not? Do we want to do this? Do we have a committee do we have a budget? That's all I do as president. But it's everybody else doing their job on the board, within the committees. And I do say, I want to help do this. I want to help do that where I can fit in. But then also knowing that until people get into those seats, they're not going to really know. And yeah, it's time. And to be good with when I was making my decision to leave the presidency of Langafa, I had to talk to Kawen. So for those of you that know, she's passed away. So I had to go to All Saints to talk to her. It was something we started together and it was very personal. I had to talk to Kawen because I had been wanting to step out for a while. I just didn't feel that it was the right time. But like now for me, it's the right time for me. And then to see where the leadership goes and the support, all I can do is give my input. Pic's not being my friend right now.
she's letting you on up.
I'm just letting you know, Calvin Chang is the director of the board, and
They just know you.
they're not being very friendly with me right now. But
Tag us, just so that we're putting it out there. They're wanting you to stay on, knowing she's capable. She knows what she's doing. So that's just putting out there so that there's no misinformation out there.
they're saying it's working fine the way it is. Just leave it alone. Go with that. PIP is where it's at. The Hawaii Daughters Guild is reorganizing itself. With the new governing board coming in, that will determine where I will end up in that structure. Alisi Tulua is the executive director. Heidi Rita and I have been the board. That structure will go away when the governing structure comes in because they will be electing their board. And so that will determine that. We can probably always stay around as advisors. A lot of the financial stuff kind of rests with us because it's through us that grants and things came in. So we're the ones that the people are going to when they need reports, when they need this, that, and the other. But we have had Katura and Chamorro Foundation and the Pacific Islander Health Partnership as separate fiscal receivers, depending on the project, because it would have been too much for one of them to take over everything. I believe Katura and Chamorro Foundation had to hire more people to handle the financial end with the monies and projects, doing the reports back to the grant people.
So basically, there's a lot of help that is donated.
We're always in need of volunteers. If we can pay you, we will. Then too, with some of us, grants are going to be running out June. And so then too, for some of us that have staff, trying to figure out how we're going to sustain that. We've applied for grants. Some we've gotten, some of them we've not, depending on what they're allocated for. So it's not any different than any other organization. We're going to have to learn how to navigate. It doesn't have to take, sometimes it can be a couple of hours at an event. We might need extra help. MYOC, Marshall East Youth of Orange County, do food banking once a month and need people to help receive all of that, parcel it out. When people come to pick it up, he calls on people to come in. And if they're not working that morning, you will be at the office today helping me to such and such. So even if you want to do something like that, if you just let us know what your time schedule is, or we can let you know what we have available and if it fits in. So you can learn to do other stuff with us besides or and see what we do. They had a get together where we had different stations set up where we can go and you do some beading, you do some weaving, you do a little bit of writing of storytelling stuff. And then we have raffle prizes. Of course, we always feed. And then just music and just getting together and getting to know each other aside from work. Yes, you can do that. Just trying to have more of those things available. SoCal Pickerick has been looking to find brick and mortar. I don't know how this whole new stuff coming in is going to affect that, but some people are burnt out on doing remote. As much as it was a blessing, we need to talk, see each other and share a meal. We're about the hugging and kissing, coming and going. Sometimes when you're in a space, even if you do it part-time, 1 or 2 days a week, to be able to share space with people. And like you may be having a difficult problem. Oh my God, I'm working with this person and blah, 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 blah. And then somebody says, did you think about doing this? And you're like, that might be a good idea. It's nice to be around other people where you can bounce things off of each other and get an idea. Or I don't know if I handled this right or not. This is what I did. This is what happened. And they go, so you could have, Daddy. Oh yeah. Let me go back and do whatever. Being together in space is also really good. I work remotely for my day jobs with the Lundquist Institute on the campus of Harbor UCLA Medical Center. It's challenging. I have to get up and get cleaned up and act like I'm going to work. My work is from my office. If I stay in pajamas all day, it's not the same. My office hours are different. I could spend 4 hours, take a break, come back after 3 hours and do more work. Or I can hit it for 10 to 12 hours. Then I'm like, how do I put that on my time card? 8 hours here and 4 hours to the next day, because it's like, what do you do? The work is getting done. It has been a challenge, of course, because I'm home. My little friend over here likes to go outside for walks when he hears other dogs. I take him out 3, 4, 5 times a day. That also gets me outside. I can get some steps in, which is still not that much because I probably only do like about 8,000 to 9,000 steps a day.
But that's a good thing, though. You're constantly keeping yourself active and getting up to do things. And within our community, we're all about taking care of our elders. But sometimes we're enabling them to space where it's more detrimental for their health. How can we help?
I've been really lucky. He doesn't want to go inside. He will not use the pad. I have to take him outside to do his business, and he's very sociable. He gets upset if I'm pulling him along and he doesn't get to stop and say hello to people or animals. It's a good little walk.
He's good.
Yeah. Some of the girls come over and it all works out. And I'm getting some sun.
And that's what PIP is for here, right? The whole point is just keeping an active lifestyle. It doesn't have to be anything rigorous.
Even with PIP, it's just using what you have at home. You don't have to buy barbells. Pick up 2 cans out of the cupboard and do that if you want to do some of that. But yeah, because I'm looking, like my next door neighbor goes to the gym. They have to put Celie goes to the gym. I'm not going to the gym. There's no use in me spending that money for the gym because I am not going to be going.
Yes.
Because both of them are like, oh, do you want to go to the gym? I'm like, no, thank you. You can come as my guest. No, thank you.
I've been going to the gym more of it
For you.
Yes, what I've learned is you don't need so much cardio. Like the best way to lose weight is just walk. So if you have the ability to go out, enjoy the sun, you get vitamin D at the same time.
So this morning I was talking to the doctor at Kaiser Permanente because I had one of those phone call interviews because, I'm just telling all of my business. So I went to do blood tests a couple of weeks ago and my A1C is high. I was trying to figure out what I'm doing, what I'm eating or when I'm eating it or what. And then I've not been the most vigilant person as far as like doing the blood sugar testing because I get tired of poking my finger. I was thinking I could try it's where you put the little patch back here and then you can do it with your phone and you don't have to poke yourself continuously. And so I was saying, ooh, I could do that, but I didn't know if that was a formulary for Kaiser Permanente. So I saw that if we had a prescription for it, I could get it and I would pay half as much as they were charging. And they were charging like 160, 170. So I would only pay like $75 for the whole kit. And then I had to do $35 a month for upkeep, right? And I said, shoot, I pay close to that just doing the needles and the whatever. I was talking to the physician this morning and he's, Audrey, you've been doing really good. It's only a few points and you can work on that. I said, oh, so I don't need to. He says, no, and I understand about doing the finger sticking. If you just do it once a day or every other day. I said, oh, I think I like you. But I've also been having trouble with my asthma. A couple of months ago, I had to go into urgent care to get a nebulizer treatment because I was trying to breathe through pinholes. And so I did that. And lately, I've been having to use my inhaler more. Today was a good day this morning before Nan came over. I was able to talk to Kaiser Permanente, trying to get stuff in order so I didn't have to get a nebulizer.
Good balance to have. This is a difficult conversation, but I'll just say it. Here we are trying to promote health in our community. How do you balance that? There's a part of it where it's someone from the health sector. I'm not saying for or against them. But the point with the health sector is they'll look into it and be like, this is the reason why we're requesting that you do, because that's how you could help you get better. At the same time, from your perspective, I know my body and what I'm feeling. I'm just trying to be more aware of like how we can actually, I don't want to put out any information. Don't go see your doctor. How do you find that balance?
For me, I know that I need more help than I can do on my own if I want to live a little bit longer. Which is why I still have doctors. I could say to heck with it, but I know from experience that when I stop taking these things, it's going to get worse. At this age, I'm looking at my mortality. How much longer do I have to live? For the time I do have, I want it to be as full as I can possibly get it. It's talking about, and it's difficult conversations to have with families. It's like talking about having your advanced care directive, your living will, and your actual will, and your power of attorney to get all those things in line so that when you do go, it makes it easier for your family. Everything is laid out. It's like I said, easier for those that come after, having had to do the funeral stuff when my dad and then when my mom died, trying to figure out what their finances were wasn't that difficult. But for other people that may have more, or trying to arrange all of that, because even for me, it's paying to already prepay a cremation plan so that if and when something happens, just call, and once I release to them, they do whatever they do. And so there's no confusion, no burial plot. I want to be cremated. If I can get scattered, I will. If we'll figure it out, it'll be figured out, to keep families from having that tug of war. No, I want her this, or what the hell does she want to do? So with the pandemic, people could die and none of that was set up. It made more heartache on top of heartache, pain and trauma. These are some of the things we can do. When people go into ICU, you don't know if they're going to come out if they're intensive care. You don't know. They're outside arguing and the patient's laying there. If you take care of this ahead of time, it's one of those difficult conversations. It's like having a conversation about at least doing an advanced care directive. If you're doing there's a difference between an advanced care directive. There's a difference with the durable power of attorney. as opposed to a regular power of attorney. The regular power of attorney will only last as if you're doing it, it'll only last as long as you live. The durable power of attorney will last beyond your death. So that encompasses what comes afterwards. And then it's like the living will or advanced care directive is one thing because it says what kind of heroic measures or not or whatever, but then your actual will that talks about your assets and stuff like that. And even within that, you need to list your subscriptions and stuff so that they can go in and take care of all of that, closing all of that stuff out. That'll determine how many death certificates you need to order that are $10 a piece. Yeah. So they have it certified. It costs money to die.
So which of the organizations helps out with things like that for our community?
PIP has given classes on, because PO actually does the class for Advanced Care Directive and Power of Attorney. It's just to get the conversation started. Even it's trying to explain to people, we're superstitious people. Just because we're talking about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But when something happens, it would be good to have an Advanced Care Directive because then it lets other people know what you would do. Because that's how I talked to my mother about it. I said, what would you like done when something happens to you? Do you want to have this? Do you want to have that? She told me she didn't mind palliative care, but she also wanted to go into a home facility. She didn't want to go back to her apartment, but we could have somebody stay with her. She goes, no, I don't want to go back there. You just send me to a facility, and that's where she passed away. So it's like asking them those questions, how they feel in the last days makes all the difference for their peace and that's the thing. I know a lot of people, oh, I want this or oh, I'm gonna miss. Get over yourself. What would that person want on? Talking to them about your daughter's guild, we have women who are caregiving their parents. And I says, y'all need to have a conversation.
Caregiving is a difficult thing. My brother's been the one that's mostly been helping my dad since I moved out to.
Caregiving is not easy, especially if it's a family member.
People think they're just staying home, but they're doing so much more.
It's mental, emotional, physical, psychological, cooking, cleaning, lifting, bathing, trying to have them be as happy as they could be in whatever structure that is for them. It's not easy dealing with adults accustomed to having their own way. They'll bully you to get their way. I want a Burger King burger. It's just a burger. I said, why can't I make you a burger at home? That is not a Burger King burger. And come on, man, help me out. I said, at least I know what I'm putting in it. It's not going to taste the same. I said, can you appreciate it's a burger? It's a lot to take in. All of that is a lot of mental stress for yourself if that's a family member. And then you're always going to put, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? You need to be able to self-care and take time off so you can be a better caretaker.
So you do a lot for the community. How do you find the balance? Do you have so much going on in your life? But then this goes back to earlier how you're like, you usually give yourself an hour. What exactly do you do for yourself?
I have a woman that gives me a full body massage. It's about an hour and a half. She's a tiny Vietnamese woman. And I kid you not, sometimes I am like, are you mad at me today or what's going on? Because that hurts. And she goes, no, that's not me. That's your pain. And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, I go to her every now and then. I go to a spa. I have a Korean spa that I go to. I get the body scrub. I'm in the jacuzzi. They have different rooms upstairs. It's time to just go and be mindless. I'm not thinking about work or anybody. If anything, I might think about him, but if I don't have to think about him for a few hours. So that's what I do. One of my favorite things to do is so I call it a Hauna chick time. So it's a stinky girl time. Now, today is Friday. So I've already taken my shower for today. I'm going to take a shower, put my pajamas on, and then I may not take another shower until Monday morning. And in between, I'm going to wash my face and brush my teeth. I call those the Hauna chick weekends. I may watch TV, get on the computer and do some work, but I am not going to get up and get dressed and go anywhere. Nope, not going. That's another one of my connects. For as much as I'm out in the community and gregarious, I am very happy to stay at home by myself with money and just work about. I like to do crafty things. I haven't had time to do that for quite some time. So I'm actually pulling some things out of storage to work on. So I'm finishing this pillowcase. I just have to finish this pillowcase, and I have a set of pillowcases that I've embroidered. I do cross stitching. I need to finish cutting my feathers so that I can vili my lays because I need to do a poi lay for the Hawaii Daughters Guild, a red boy. I need to get my feathers ready so the thing with that is that you want to cut all your feathers, and then when you're ready to start putting it together, always thinking about things to do.
It's interesting, even at your wiser age, you still feel like there's still area for self-improvement.
Always. Until you die. if you're not trying to improve or because you haven't acquired everything yet, you haven't obtained everything. There's always so much more to learn. I watch YouTube. 2 weeks ago at Pian, Melody gave a class on the doctrine of discovery, which pissed me off. It was written by the Pope for the Portuguese, Spaniards, and the French expand their lands. She showed, I think they started back in the 14th century, and I think it was from the 15th or 16th century is when Guam came in, and then Guam under Spain colonized, and that all came from back in Rome. I says, what the hell? I'm like, amazing how they just put all their own crap in there. So it's just like to be able to, part of it is like putting the pieces together, right? Just like when I found out about the Coup petition. So the Coup petition was a petition that went around in the late 1800s, 1890 something, against annexation of Hawaii by the United States government. At that time, there were over 38,000 signatures against annexation by the citizens of Hawaii were more than just Hawaiians. They were like Chinese, Portuguese, whatever. And so they had two different factions. So it's like they had two factions of which like I think 20 something thousand just wanted to not be annexed, and the other 17 wanted to not be annexed, but they wanted Queen Ukalani to be put back in the reigning position. And they decided when they went to Congress to just do the ones that wanted to not have annexation. And that's the one that went before Congress in Washington, D.C., when they saw that these people don't want to be annexed, but they came back a couple of years later, and because of the Spanish-American War and the port in Pearl Harbor, they annexed Hawaii under a resolution that has nothing to do with annexation. So again, they did something illegal. Even though Clinton gave an apology in 93, that apology doesn't do anything because we are still under the United States of America. I never knew about that. All the years I've been living until maybe 10 years ago, I said, how am I that old and didn't know about the Kuwait petition? All these things about history that we don't learn because other people write our history, it's very irritating.
We always have great conversations. There's so much to learn from you. I learn from you too. It's a two-way street. I appreciate you. You've always been there as a mentor and also someone just to give me advice. And just also being out here in California, having moved from Samoa, you've shown me so much love and kindness. I've always appreciated that.
You're more than welcome. It's been my absolute pleasure.
Phew, what a conversation. Auntie Audrey, thank you for sharing your story, your passion, your wisdom. The work you're doing is a reminder that real change happens when we show up, when we commit, and when we uplift one another. Sunga, if you're feeling inspired, don't let that energy pass you by. If you've been wanting to step up, to get involved, to find ways to give back, this is your sign. Whether it's volunteering, supporting a local initiative, or simply reaching out and checking in on your people, you can make a difference. And that's exactly why I want you to be part of Dear Suga. Subscribe, share, and stay connected. I would like Dear Suga to be more than just a podcast. It's a space for us to learn, grow, and build something meaningful together. So, until the next episode of Dear Suga, listen with alofa and share with Manan.